You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome to Cinema Z, a film discussion and review podcast on BQN. We're here to showcase the films you probably missed out on, but should definitely check out. From independent and obscure to art house and absurd, each episode we'll gather perhaps a cocktail in hand to discuss it all. I'm your host, Matt Jennings, and with me is my co-host, Mark. Mark, how is it going?
Hey, Matt, so nice to see you. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been forever and a day and a day.
The whole summer went by. The last few episodes were recorded so far in advance.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Okay, listeners, I kind of loathe the summer. Don't hate me, but I kind of loathe the summer. Just the heat. Me and heat, we're not friends. So I have been looking forward to putting on my jackets and putting on some boots and still wearing crop tops because I'm homosexual and I like to show skin.
Well, at least there's that.
There's always skin.
Yeah, I've been doing good. Staying busy. Starting to get fall, so I'm tidying up some yard projects, trying to get things ready for the winter because pretty soon it'll be too cold and snowy up here to be able to be working in the yard. But I think we get another month before I have to worry about the snow. I mean, yeah, it's right now. We're still in October. When this drops, it'll be actually, when this drops, it'll probably be next week.
It'll be next week, yeah.
I mean, if I'm on schedule.
Listeners, I have to say that I have looked at some of the progress pictures that Mark has shown me in regards to what he's been doing around his home. It's amazing. He needs to put mask on his profile immediately.
Oh, so mask.
So mask.
Mask for mask.
So mask for mask. So mask. So dom.
Hey, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking, listeners, I keep it very classy. So I am drinking this Jack Daniel's wine cooler called Southern Peach.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
if you want to see Matt's Southern Peach, just check out his OnlyFans.
Check out my OnlyFans. Please give me money. Times are tough.
Did you lose a lot of subscribers when you went up a couple bucks or no?
No. I haven't made a lot of money yet. I'm thinking of throwing in some feet.
Oh, yeah,
some feet, perhaps some worn underwear. Variety.
Oh my!
Just spread the market.
Well, I've got so I made enchiladas earlier for myself, and I decided to make a margarita, and I made it really strong with some really good tequila. And so I've sort of been milking that actually for the last hour. So I'm a little bit already in a good spot. So we'll see what kind of recording it's going to be.
This is going to be fun, listeners. This is going to be fun. So I'm going to introduce our film for the day. The film that we are talking about today is V for Vendetta. It is based off of the British graphic novel V for Vendetta. It was written by the Wachowskis siblings, and it was directed by James M. I'm saying M for the last name because I cannot appropriately pronounce the last name, and I don't want to offend that director. So the plot is basically, in a future British dystopian society, a shadowy freedom figure known as V plots to overthrow the tyrannical government with the help of Evey Hammond. So, kicking it off, Mark, why did you want to watch?
I usually watch every year. Yeah. I don't let the 5th of November go by without watching it. Usually. Thinking it's an important film. I'm not a superhero kind of film guy as a rule, but I don't really look at this as being that. It's more of a cautionary political tale about what happens when governments have total power, or and what can happen to a society that's otherwise free when they relinquish control because of fear, right? And so there's a lot of lessons in here. Um, my dear friend Matt, who I've mentioned multiple times on this podcast, who's passed away, um, he loved this film very much. This was very special for him. He had the mask and stuff, and we watched this together, and we would talk about this, and um, so it was very like important in our friendship, and so I sort of keep the tradition alive, and I watched it every year. So when you picked it, I was like, great, because I was gonna watch it anyway, and I own it, so yay.
This is also one of my favorite films. V for Vendetta. I think it came out. It says 2005, but I always remember it coming out in 2006. But Google says 2005. But I remember watching that movie and knowing from my dad that it was a graphic novel. I think my dad was telling me that the movie was coming out, and he's like, "Oh, it started off as a graphic novel first," and my dad had it in his collection, and I went to see it with a couple of my friends, and it already had the Wachowskis on it, the name on it. So being a fan of The Matrix, I was already going to go see it. I was inspired by the character of V. I was inspired by Evey's journey. I think I saw myself in Evey a lot in certain ways. And someone at that time who was newly out of the closet, and with in some ways that film being very heavy in addressing how queer people are treated and are still treated today. It shook me a little bit. So this movie has always stayed with me and is a very special one to me. And obviously with our political climate today, and with an election just around the corner, it just seemed appropriate to give it another watch.
I just want to say how appropriate I thought it was. The participation of Stephen Fry in this movie, and his character, and just knowing his politics, knowing who he is as a person. He got one of his breakout film roles was playing Oscar Wilde. If you guys haven't seen the movie Wilde, check that out. Um, Stephen Fry obviously like killed it in that. But he's always been somebody that really stood up for his beliefs, but he did so from the standpoint of someone that is extremely educated and a great orator. He's somebody that is quite the intellectual. He's known for that. And to see him, especially like his character in this film, I felt like his character in this film was sort of him in a lot of ways, because I could see like society sort of going down and him just sort of collecting all of this stuff. I could see him doing that, like the Quran. And one of the lines in this film was him just saying, like, you don't have to be a Muslim to appreciate the beauty in the words or the poetry of it, and that's true. And I think a lot of people, especially like right now, something, that character is so important. It's such a small role, but it's so important because he says so much with that part, right? And where we are today as a society, right? It's like we're trying, the government right now, or like certain people, we'll just say that certain parties here in the United States are trying to separate us into like, you're either with us or you're the other, right?
Yeah.
And separating people into factions, like you're this or you're that or you're that, and separating, breaking people down to just these almost caricatures, separating us that way and making everything like tribalized, I think is what this film was saying, brought about the downfall of the UK society, potentially what had happened with the United States at the time of this film.
Yeah.
Like all of this, right? And so there's it's so meaty. The dialogue in this is so meaty. You could just dissect forever. And I've had the luxury of watching this film many times. But yeah, every time I watch it, I pick up on new threads. And like I said, again, I just want to call out Stephen Fry. I'm just glad he participated in this. And even though it was a small role, it was a mighty one. So yeah, another reason to watch.
I totally agree. I absolutely agree. We're introduced to a very different Evey at the beginning of this movie. You know, we see some hints of her desire to revolt. I think at the beginning of the movie, when BTN is on the TV, or as I like to call it, Fox and Friends. And oh God, what's the name of the character on BTN? I just want to call him Steve Bannon. He's not Steve Bannon, but he's like the Steve Bannon type. Anyway, he gets really heated in his rant, and so she just says that's enough, and she turns off the TV. So we see a little hint of this person is not just one of the sheep out there just following the rest of the herd. Yet she does, when we meet her in the movie, she does still have it on in the background while she's doing her makeup and getting ready to go out. My thing is, with the exception of BTN in this universe being the only source of news available, why does she still have it on? Why do we think that she still have that channel on, even though it's, as the English would say, bollocks?
Well, I mean, she works there. She works at the BTN, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like they're her colleagues. She had already said, I think in part of it, not at the beginning, but at some part of it, she says she knows when at least one of the anchors is lying because the amount of times she blinks. So I feel like she can still get some news out of it. And also, like, I'm kind of a news junkie. Like I watch the news like nuts, especially like lately. I've been watching way too much.
Yeah.
So in spite of the fact that it's negative, I don't know. Maybe it's like the people that are, like what's his name, Pete Buttigieg. He'll jump onto Fox News and he'll participate in Fox News discussions, and stuff. So I figure like he probably watches Fox News, and he's pretty damn liberal.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe she's like a little bit like Pete Buttigieg.
I mean, I remember not really thinking about it the first few times that I had seen this movie, and then really thinking about it today when I saw the movie again. And I think that there might be a slight element of complacency in that scene, even though I'm sure it was also there for the sake of moving the plot along, and also establishing BTN and all those things. But I think sometimes with a lot of us, we get caught up in the mindset of, well, that's just the way it is, and that's just what it is. And so I think that when we have that mindset, I think we find ourselves in a lot of unhealthy situations, and we get deeper and deeper in without realizing it. And so I think that just breeds or gives more space for things like BTN, things like is it Breitbart? Is that what it was called? Breitbart?
Yeah, I think they're gone though. They got defunct.
Yeah. Newsmax, that kind of stuff to exist. But I think that on some level, it's just the mindset of, well, that's just what it is, and some people are just that way, and it's normal. And I think that's the scary thing, is that maybe there's an element of, well, this is just normal for her. Moving on, as a country, how have we been conditioned to keep space for things like BTN, like the BTN network?
I think it's generational. I don't think it started with television. I think it goes back to radio. I think we can go back to Rush Limbaugh, and I'm sure there were people before Rush Limbaugh that were spewing just hatred and bigotry. Yeah, I think that there's always been a segment of the population that felt like the reason that their life sucked is because of other people. And there's always been people out there spewing that sort of message, and other people getting plugged into it and be like, yeah, that guy gets it. Like, it's because of that other dude, because of those other people, you know? Yeah, so I think as long as there's been media, there's probably been some sort of right wing, you know, outlet.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think that I think it does come along with that conditioning of that mindset of just, well, this is just the way that it is. I think that I think there's not enough accountability. I think especially in America when it comes to things of the past, um, whether it's slavery or I don't know, just things that are happening with our community today. I think accountability is something that is still a foreign concept for America, and I think that when accountability is not part of the culture of the country, I think that more space is made for things like BTN, more lies to be spewed. It's easier to blame people of different sexual orientations, different ethnicities, different religious backgrounds for problems. That's what I think. So this also brings me to, I guess, the third part of this question in regards to how do we make space for these things? How do we, get in the mindset of, well, that's just the way it is. So simple question. Why do people stay in toxic situations?
People are masochists. Um,
I mean,
well, also, I think people maybe are conditioned that way. I think religion, is a powerful tool for conditioning people to feel like, oh, I don't know anything. I lifted up to God. Sorry if you're listening to this. I mean, odds are this, if Trump gets elected, this episode, as well as this podcast, as well as Matt and I, will be locked away anyway.
yeah, probably.
So, so it doesn't matter at this point, but I'm just going to say, like,
Yeah.
religion itself, people that are indoctrinated, it's very easy to indoctrinate yourself into other things if you're already indoctrinated in religion, right? So the cult of religious fanaticism goes along with, right-wing cults, right? And they're just hand in hand, skipping together down this hate-filled road.
Yeah, I just have like the image of, I don't know, like just Trumpism and Christian nationalism and the Ku Klux Klansmen just like skipping down the yellow brick road together, but still with like the ruby red slippers on.
Oh, for sure.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah. Trump would absolutely break a heel, though, because that fat fuck. I mean, no way. I mean, he's probably got tiny feet because, he's got a tiny little...
Right.
But,
I gotta agree with you. I definitely think that a certain dedication to religion is a part of it. I know for myself, I would have a tendency to, and sometimes I still have to be careful about it because I was raised that way, to think that I deserved certain things. I deserved for bad things to happen to me. And depending on the pastor that I would hear from, God would be shown or would be spoken about as if God were a punisher of sorts and coming to get you, and there would be some sort of retribution, payback for some sort of sin that you committed. So I would look for things in my life if I felt that I had done something wrong, even if I had felt that I had learned from something. I would look for payback in some kind of way, no matter what, because that's just the way that it was. And I would come back to that mindset. And so I think that I think sometimes people stay in those situations because they think that they deserve it, and they're scared to challenge their beliefs or what they've been raised with. And I think that also says a lot about what someone thinks of themselves, their self-worth. You let people
Well,
treat you. Sorry, go
that's
ahead.
Evie's. Well, I was gonna say what you're talking about. It's Evie's journey in the film, right? She doesn't want to speak up. She's afraid,
Yeah.
and then you know through V, he helps to break her of that fear. She has to go through something. She has to truly experience what it is to be terrified, like genuinely. And I don't think she's quite had that experience before in her life. I get the feeling not. Things have never been like quite that tough. And
Yeah.
so her going through that sort of builds her up, and she gets the confidence to sort of step out and be like, no, enough is enough. And I think that that's what, collectively, some people have to do in order to get to that point. Some people are born that way. Some people just have that natural confidence. Other people, it takes going through some traumatic stuff
Yeah.
to be able to step up and come into your own.
And it's I mean, and this is just in reference to the film itself, but we realize that she's got some trauma that she hasn't dealt with. We see the flashback scene of Evie in her house as a child, and the stormtroopers, if you will, they come in to take her parents away. We see the scene with her mother where her mother gets knocked down and Evie is hiding under the bed as a child, and we see her mother's face and we see her mother's eyes as she's getting taken away, and then we fast
Did it make
forward.
you ice?
I mean, honestly, but you know what? Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
I was seeing some of those images, and I was thinking about the poor, families that were getting ripped apart during the last Trump administration.
Yeah.
Sometimes at the border, when they're trying to come across, but like, small children getting ripped away from their mothers and stuff and pulled away. But it's that same thing. It's like, do we want to go back to that America? Like, really? That amount of cruelty where you're taking the children, separating them from their parents? Like, I think that we're better than that. I would like to hope that there's still a soul left in America
I
and that we're not going to do that again.
I would like to hope so too. I mean, I think about I was going to bring this up a little later on, but Project 2025 in regards to what it wants to do with anything and everyone that is not white, straight, and male. Donald Trump himself has talked about going after. I mean, he already does it on his Twitter or X or whatever it is. He already goes after people that hurt his feelings. If it's Jimmy Kimmel, Taylor Swift, said I hate Taylor Swift. The Haitian community saying they eat cats and dogs, and those tweets, those words have a reverberating effect, and people act violently just because they see it come out of his mouth or posted on social media and they believe it.
So many people are turning like a blind eye, Matt. It's just absurd. They're like, well, I don't necessarily agree with like the way his messaging is, but his policies. And I'm like, what policies? And it's such a fucking double standard in this country that this black woman has to really essentially show her daily schedule plan for the next 4 years of her life to the American people to the letter. And Donald Trump can be like, well, I have concepts of a plan, and he gets a pass because he's like a straight white man.
Exactly.
It's like the double standard is in your face. It's in your face.
It's absolutely
there.
And
you turn on the TV, it's there.
And as
it's
well,
not hidden.
With them thinking that, with his supporters thinking that the economy was better under him, the reality is that this is a result of what Obama had done in the last 8 years.
He takes credit for a black man's hard work.
Exactly.
The previous administration had wrecked it. Literally industries were fleeing America after George W. Bush.
Yep.
I mean, the auto industry was about to completely crash. There would be no Ford Motor Company or Chrysler or any of that stuff. It would all be gone, you know.
And that's the thing, is that, again, with a country that has that accountability is not part of the culture, this history gets repeated over and over again, where in this case, specifically, you have a white man that is taking credit for a person of color's work over and over and over again. And when that person of color that is qualified for the job is up against their white counterpart, again, and this is something that, listeners, this is something that I have been told. My mother told me this, and I didn't understand it until I got much older. You've got to be 2 times better than your white counterpart. And I didn't get it. I was like, why does she say that? What does that mean? And, if it's not more prevalent now with looking at what's happening in our election with, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, oh boy. I think this does bring me to, talking about some of this stuff does bring me to my next point. Some of the images in this movie are hard to watch, and they're pulled right out of a dictatorship, right out of Nazi Germany. You've got the image of Adam Sutler screaming into the microphone at the podium while soldiers march by waving flags. You've got the experimentation on marginalized groups, much like what happened in Nazi Germany, much like the Tuskegee experiment. You've got the hunting of queer people of color. You've got armed forces being used against its own citizens. You've got police brutality. So with the knowledge that we have now of Project 2025 and Donald Trump's relationship to that, which he has said, "Oh, I know nothing about it. I disagree with some things that are in it. I know nothing about it." Which, if you think about that quote, that's it's like,
Well, I appreciate that you brought up Adam Sutler, who's played by the late great John Hurt. John
yes,
Hurt was a national treasure, and I'm just going to say that. It's really sad that we don't have him anymore. But anyway, Sutler continually, like Trump, in this film is so timely right now. Was stoking the fires of fear over and over again. And he kept telling his people to amp it up, make him more scared, more afraid. And he said, well, I'm going to quote him in this here. I want this country to realize that we stand on the edge of oblivion. I want every man, woman, and child to understand that we are close to chaos. I want everyone to remember why they need us. And if you listen, Kamala's always telling us, listen to Trump's rallies, tune in. Have you ever seen a candidate for a major office that's literally telling you, hey, check out the other person's rallies? Kamala is telling you, see with your own eyes, hear with your own ears, listen to what he is saying. He is showing you who he is. He is showing you what he wants to do. I mean, it's right there. You'll watch his rallies, and I've seen clips. I haven't sat through a whole thing. I think I watched a couple of Trump's news briefings. That's about it. But it's all about stoking fear, making you afraid of the other, afraid of Democrats, afraid of trans people, afraid of people of color, afraid of Jewish people, afraid of everybody else. I don't know.
Literally
Fear.
everybody. Literally everybody. I mean, there are so many things that popped out to me when I thought about Project 2025 and when I watched this movie. I think the one that's always on my mind right now is the weaponization of police against anyone that is deemed to be a threat against citizens, which Donald Trump has mentioned is giving police immunity for their use of force and weaponizing law enforcement against people. That first scene, when we see that law enforcement corner Evey and attempt to rape her, under in a scenario like under Project 2025, with law enforcement having some kind of immunity, not being held accountable, something like that would be okay. Something like that might happen more. And I don't say things like this to stoke fear, but I just say this as a reality, especially, I think of people of color that want to vote for Donald Trump. And I don't know if this is not, something that has been processed in their brains, but police brutality is obviously something that is affecting people of color. And the idea of police having immunity and not being held accountable for their use of force, it's already bad now.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of officers knowing that they have free reign terrifies me.
Well, Trump has said that he would like it a national day of violence, like the Purge.
Yeah.
And he said it, and I believe he means it.
Yeah.
And it could very well happen if we don't vote.
Right.
This episode, hopefully, fingers crossed, is dropping right before the election.
Yeah.
Listeners, for the love of all things, vote.
And I've got to say, and I have to address this because it's been on my mind for a while. There are people out there that are looking at what's happening in Gaza. There are people that are liberal but are unhappy with Democrats for whatever reason. I think, in some way, I can understand being angry so that you don't vote. However,
a non-vote is a vote for Trump.
A non-vote
is a vote against democracy. It's a
Exactly.
vote for fascism. If you don't vote, you're voting for a fascist, essentially, because you're handing the election to Trump. Sorry, I'll say it.
And in addition to that,
please vote.
Yes, please vote. And you've really got to think about how voting it's not a reward. You're not rewarding that person. You
need to hold them accountable. But if you don't vote in this particular election this year, you might never have an opportunity to vote again in your lifetime. Your entire voting rights could get stripped away. Okay?
Exactly.
You want to be able to figure out, like, down the road who you think would be better. The next iteration of Bernie Sanders, whatever. You want us to go like super left, whatever the heck. If that's your dream, okay, the only way that's going to happen is if you vote this time.
Yeah. And you've got to start, again, for my people that are angry about what's going on in Gaza, are angry about how Democrats have handled certain things, and you're liberal, you've got to think, for one, that voting is just one tool. You can vote, and you can protest, and you can donate, and you can inform people. There's always an and. It's not an either or. Voting is one tool in the toolbox. Mm-hmm. You can do all of these different things. I understand that you don't have the candidate that you want. However, why not vote for someone that is not going to take away your right to protest so you can protest? Mm-hmm. So you can continue to do all of these things that right now, quite frankly, I think some people take for granted when they say that they're not going to vote. I don't think that they fully processed what's at stake. But I encourage for those people that are angry about what's happening in Gaza, that think certain things about Kamala Harris, remember, voting is one tool. Use every tool that you have. Don't tie your hand behind your back. Use every single tool.
Yeah. Hold her accountable too. Like,
exactly.
It's not the point to elect her and then be like, well, I thought she was going to do this, blah, 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 and wipe your hands of the whole thing. No,
exactly.
Like, if she's not going the direction you want her to, let your voice be known.
Yes. It doesn't stop with the vote. It doesn't stop with the vote. There's an and. There's more to do. Voting is just it's one of the tools that you have. For people that enjoy television, for people that listen to this radio station, for people that enjoy art, the power of art is not lost on the government. It's not lost on the government. That's why books are being banned. That is why Donald Trump tweets about Jimmy Kimmel. Honestly, and if you're a Star Trek fan and you're listening to this, that's why Fox has called Star Trek woke. The things that you love to watch now under a Trump administration could be gone, at risk, under a Trump presidency,
This
because they're
isn't
considered too woke.
hyperbole here. We're not blowing smoke. This isn't gaslighting.
No, it's not.
These are genuine, real concerns. And, it would be wonderful for a time capsule to be made of this particular episode in this time, because we're literally just a couple of weeks here from the election.
Yeah.
And the stakes are this high. We are genuinely this concerned. And that's why this year, instead of spooky season, we're doing a couple of political episodes, because we want to do everything we can, right? As citizens of these beautiful United States. Listen, my first election, I got to go off a side tangent. My very first election that I ever voted for, this dates me a little bit, was Bush v. Gore. Okay, that was my first voting experience.
That's before Christ, listeners.
And I remember staying up all night, and then I had to follow the drama of the hanging chads, and then there was that whole busload of ballots that went missing down by Dade County, and then suddenly, Gore conceded and Bush got in, and I remember feeling like, wow, he stole this one, and being like pissed, right?
Yeah.
But even though, and I still kind of feel like Bush stole that one. I really do.
No, I do too.
I still love it. But here's the thing. He got in there, and Dick Cheney was in there, and whatever, blah blah blah, and the false Iraq War, and there's plenty to dislike about George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and that whole administration, Donald Rumsfeld, like all of that stuff. Like, there's plenty to be pissed off at about it, still to this day. But with that said, like, I honestly, if I saw Dick Cheney today, I'd probably shake the man's hand. Because he has come out for democracy. Not because I'm all of a sudden, like, putting up Dick Cheney, like, posters on my wall and I'm, like, a big fan. Because I'm definitely 100% not. But the thing is the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And listeners, if Dick Cheney has come out and said, do not vote for this man,
we're under the same team now. We're on the same side. We're on the same umbrella. We can have discussions down the road, and I think this is what Matt was getting at. We can have discussions down the road about whether or not you like somebody's immigration policy, whether or not you like somebody's policy on Gaza, or whether or not you like somebody's policy on tax reform, whatever. We can have these discussions. I miss boring Republicans.
Yeah.
Boring debates back in like the 90s. They would just get there and they'd talk and they'd bring up a chart and this is where the economy seems to be going. And I miss that, because back then people didn't hate each other.
Yeah.
Like, you could still like hang out with your next door neighbor that was of the opposite party,
right?
And you didn't want to kill each other. I think we really need to de-escalate here.
We have to,
because we need to get back to a world where there are a healthy two-party system. I genuinely, as a liberal Democrat, want there to be a healthy Republican Party. I think that's what America needs. And healthy means not toxic, not hating one another.
Yeah.
Right? So the first step here, guys, and then we can go back to our mutual corners, is just defeat this dude. We need to purge Trump from the Republican Party. And then once that's done, we can go back to our corners and arguing about taxes, okay? And again, this is like what Matt was saying, as far as, there are issues that you don't necessarily think that Kamala is going to be the best on. Okay, fine, great. But she's not going to strip democracy out of our hands or the right to vote.
And so moving on to my next question, this is something that I enjoy. Again, I enjoy the journey that Evey goes on, and watching her become this fighter, become this this person that wants to revolt. She has a moment where she is released from the prison after being captured. She realizes that it is V that has kind of staged this whole thing, and she's understandably upset. I'd be upset. I'm like, you shaving my hair, you spraying water on me, you're torturing me on a day that I didn't ask for it. We're not here to kink shame.
How was her British accent?
I thought it was good.
I thought it was
I
good
thought it was
too.
pretty consistent.
It was better than mine.
It's but I say all this to say, so we see her obviously being upset after seeing the facade that V has shown, that V has that has pulled over her. And I wonder, did V manipulate her, or did he just bring out what was already there in terms of her inner revolt, her inner rebellion?
What is it that line? Hold on. Artists use lies to paint the truth,
Mm-hmm.
when politicians use it to cover it up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that there's a little bit of that in there. You can tell. I mean, he was the character there. V was torn up about having to do it.
Yeah.
But he needed her to wake the F up and become the woman that he knew she was in there. He knew she was capable of so much more, and he believed in her. But he needed to get her to the point where she believed it in herself. And sometimes for all of us, and I can say this for myself, like, I'm the type of person, I'll be the first to admit, I'm the type of person that learns lessons the harder way, right? I have to fall on my face and then, oh, crap, I'm not going to do that again. And I'll have a bunch of people yelling at me, don't drive that way, don't drive that way. And then I'll go that way and, end up in a lake, but then I won't do it again, right?
Yeah.
It's that type of thing. Like, some people just have to learn that way. And that might be Evey, she just had to get to that point where she was broken.
Yeah.
And the person that she built, because she did all the work herself, she had to make those choices, decide. Each time they came in and asked her to give up V, she said, no, that was a choice, right?
Right.
So she chose that every single day, which made her stronger. Like, the muscles got stronger and stronger. By the time she was out, she wasn't the same person, but she made that choice. Because early on, she could have just been like, well, I think he lives in a cellar somewhere. The bricks are this color. It's about this far from this downtown London. She could have done that, but she did not, and that was a choice.
I think that it was always there. I think, I always say this: you don't know what you're made of until you've been in a good fight. And I think that, in many ways, V was kind of putting Evey in the fight of her life. And I think when we look at her history, what her parents went through, what she witnessed, she was at least present to watch the downfall of Britain into this dictatorship. Again, the simple act of her turning off the news at the beginning of the movie and choosing not to tune in to BTN, I believe it was always there. I believe it was always there, and I believe that V just brought it out of her. Now, on the opposite end of that, aside from blatantly telling people to storm the Capitol or, incite violence against political opponents, do we think that Donald Trump has done the same thing? Aside from, again, blatantly telling people, storm the Capitol, hurt this person, they're my enemy. Do we think that Donald Trump has manipulated people into being the worst of themselves, or was it already there?
I think it goes back to, I guess, like, lessons you learn, like, growing up. Like, it's like what seeds get watered when you have small children, right? You water the seeds, like, are nurturing or of fear and violence. Like, it's like how you treat people. I think it's some of that. Like, I honestly think that some people have more of a proclivity So I use my adult word.
The word of today, listeners, is
proclivity.
proclivity.
To that type of thing. Some people are more. It doesn't mean that they're dumb. I agree with Kamala that she's not out there saying that any of Trump's supporters are stupid. I know intelligent people, bright people that are going to vote for the guy or are planning on voting for that guy, right? And I'm not out here saying that those people are stupid. I genuinely don't think stupid is the word. Misguided, yes. Maybe ill-informed or incorrectly informed, right? Because they're hearing lies and buying into it, the Kool-Aid. But no, I don't think they're stupid. Yeah.
Again, he gave people a scapegoat as to why their lives aren't working out the way that they are, whether it's trans people, people of color, people of different ethnicities. And, I knew people personally that were very close to me, that felt like Donald Trump was the way to go. I can no longer associate myself with those people for my own mental health and self-esteem because it hurts too much. I fear that I have family members that want to associate themselves with them. Now, do I believe that those people are blatantly racist? Some of them might be. I do believe that there is a desperation in the people that know better. And I think those are the people that scare me the most, are the people that know better and still want to vote for him because of...
Well, they feel desperation is a good word because it makes me think of Make America Great Again.
Yeah.
There is this idea, this mythological America that really never existed, but existed, I guess, for a select few people.
Right.
Where, the mom and dad would take, the little boy to church on Sunday and, be able to afford a house, from working at a butterfly sanctuary, and stuff like that.
Butterfly sanctuary.
It's like this is America, and everything was great, way back then. It's this idea, and it's like, well, I struggle now, but my grandparents didn't have to, or my parents didn't have to, but why do I? Oh, there's more brown people in my neighborhood than there used to be, or there's more Jewish people in my neighborhood than there used to be, or there's more, anybody. There's more of this than there used to be, right?
Right.
The gays, there was hate. There wasn't gays 30 years ago, and this is their mindset because they never heard about it because it wasn't like on the TV or whatever. Like they could watch Leave It to Beaver without there being a trans character. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Right. They want to return to that where gay people had to be in the closet, trans people had to be in the closet and not, go through their transition, be able to do that. Right. They want to go back to a place where Black people did have separate water fountains. Like this is literally what they want.
Yeah.
Because they thought, oh, it's better if those people are over there, or those people are over there, or those people don't talk about what they do in their bedroom and blah, 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 yada, yada. Right. So there's an element of that. But again, this goes back to this great America that was only great for like a couple of people. But everybody else was suffering, right?
Yeah.
And so what confuses me, I guess, about this election, and I know that voting blocks are not monolithic, right? Like not everybody Black is just going to vote for Kamala. And,
right.
To think that, I think is there's a little bit of racism there too, to just assume something about somebody based on, their ethnicity or their, what have you. But with that said, it's still I've always been confused by people that vote against their own interests,
Yeah.
right? I could see if you are, you're like, well, I'm going to vote for him because of the economy. Well, the economy's better now, and it was better under Obama. And like Democrats always do better with the economy. It's just a fact,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Well, I don't want them giving, sex change operations to 5-year-olds in school. Well, that's never going to happen.
Exactly.
Like ever. It's not ever going to be a thing. It's just the wrong information. So it's fear that's driving these people to make that choice, I think.
Yeah.
But I just ask those people that are having these thoughts that might stumble upon this episode and haven't tuned out yet, do additional research besides that one Fox News network.
Yeah.
Literally get information anywhere else.
And check
That's my
your
ask.
sources. And check the sources. Check
Yeah.
the sources. And understand, again, the art of Donald Trump, and unfortunately the art of the majority of the Republican Party right now.
The art of the bad deal.
The art of the bad deal is to discredit credibility. That has been the tactic.
Yeah, but it's right from the fascism playbook. I mean,
Yeah.
this is how, Hitler got into power. And most autocrats get into power. It's the systematic deconstruction of norms, of everything that you thought was one way. It's like, okay, first, like the established media, we got to go after them. We got to go after, this is peaceful transition of power. Like any of these things, like the court system, like all of these things that we believed in.
And listeners as well,
in deconstruct them first.
In regards to Project 2025, in regards to deconstructing these things, getting rid of the Board of Education is in the Project 2025 playbook. Getting rid of the Board of Education. So when we talk about getting rid of facts, discrediting credibility, getting rid of the Board of Education is part of that. Knowledge is power. Your mind is a powerful tool. Oh God, what is that quote that V said? I think V said something along the lines of ideas are bulletproof.
Ideas are bulletproof, yeah.
The mind is powerful, and if they take that away from you, then you don't have anything. So I guess in conclusion with this, use your own mind, keep your own mind. Don't let people tell you who you are. You tell people who you are. Something I just want to say to people is think, really think. Continue to be curious. Don't compartmentalize things, people, into one category, into one property. Ask questions. If you don't understand something, if you don't understand something about someone, ask them. Continue to be curious, and you might learn something. Alrighty. So, it's November 5th. V tells you it's your time. Do you blow up Parliament? How do you revolt? What do you do?
Are you kidding? Yeah, bye. In a New York minute, yeah. If I ever find myself again, they're gonna hear this episode at some point. If Trump gets elected and then his whatever people hear this episode, we're already screwed. So I'm just gonna say it right now. Like, I will definitely be in the opposition party if America gets taken over by a fascist dictator. And the democracy that we've held on to for the last couple hundred years, that literally my grandparents fought in World War II to defeat the fascists. You've seen Saving Private Ryan, all the people that died in Normandy on D-Day.
Yeah.
The firefighters that stood there on the ground zero after we were attacked, searching for bodies with the dogs and standing over the rubble and hoisting the American flag. Like, I lived through that. Right?
Yeah.
This is who we are, right? We're a country of heroes, and heroes don't have, it doesn't matter what political affiliation they belong to. Nobody was standing on the rubble of ground zero saying, like, are you a Democrat? Like,
right.
I don't know if I'm going to pull this rock over your head. You know what I mean? But when you're dealing with a one-party system and like a fascist dictator, you can literally be in a situation where there's a hurricane, let's say, and a whole section of the country gets damaged,
Yeah.
and then you want FEMA money, you want help. Well, if there's a fascist dictator in charge of America, they're not going to send the money to a primarily Democratic area, even
Right.
if you're on a street full of Republicans.
Yeah. And even if, for listeners or whoever is considering voting for Donald Trump, especially if you're a person of color, when they talk about going after people, they are not going to take the time to ask you a whole bunch of questions before they detain you for whatever it is.
Michael Steele was he was the head of the Republican Party, right? During I think George W. Bush's tenure, whenever
Mhm.
Michael Steele was in charge of the Republicans, and he still identifies as a Republican. But even Michael Steele knows, that if Trump gets in office, right, and he's driving, down some highway wherever, somewhere, it doesn't matter who he is, how much money he has, he's still black
Yeah.
in America,
Yeah.
and it would be so much worse for him. He could get pulled over and shot just for being in the wrong part of town.
Yeah.
So this is a genuine fear. It doesn't mean you have to like give up. If you are a Republican, doesn't mean you have to give up your conservative ideology at all. Like
Yeah.
if you just feel like we should be spending less money over here or more money over there or taxing more people over here, whatever. Feel all those feels and vote that way, right? But in this one occasion,
Yeah.
it's okay to vote for the other guy.
Yeah.
I voted for Republicans in my life. I grew up in Maine, and like everybody liked Susan Collins, Olympia Snow. Like, I voted for them for a long, long time, and I've met both of them. Whatever, it was at a different point when like people weren't, pigeonholed into categories, right? It wasn't like the red team, blue team, right?
Yeah.
It was like, wow, this person has some ideas. They're all right. Like, fine, I'll vote for them. They got my vote. They're a nice enough person. We need to get back to that where
Yeah.
it's okay. And I think, having this big tent that Kamala wants to have, right? And having, Republicans in her cabinet, I think is a great thing. I think this is something that every president should do going forward. I think it needs to be done more because if you are indeed the president of all of America, you
It's gotta
should have that
represent.
reflected in your cabinet. It
Yeah.
shouldn't just, okay, all of a sudden the blue team won, let's stack it with blue people. All of a sudden the red team's in, let's stack it with red people, because that's tribalistic. No, if you want to be leading everybody, then you hire the people with the best ideas.
Yeah.
That needs to lead. The best idea people need to be put in charge. None of this red state, blue state bullshit. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.
I've got to say for myself, if I had gone through what Evey had gone through, I would crank it and I would let that train run. Thinking about certain things that I've experienced now and, unfortunately what could be to come down the road, I'm not going to lie, there's definitely fear. There's fear, there's hesitation. I value my life. I value the life of my family, my friends.
I'll see you in Gitmo.
But I've got to say, I think that people, when they are pushed enough, they push back hard. And this is not me. I am not calling for violence. I want to make that very clear right now. I'm not calling for violence. I do think with Donald Trump's rhetoric, with the rhetoric of a lot of the Republican Party, because he and them have gone after everybody, just everybody that is not white, straight, rich, conservative, and male. You create more enemies that way, and you can beat people, but for so long before they revolt. Now, however this election goes, I do believe that there is some form of revolution that is going to come. We can either do that the hard way, because none of it is going to be easy. Or we can do it the harder way, and that's what I believe. When I look at how Republicans, conservatives have won elections in the last 20 years, they have not won the popular vote in the last 20 years. Or they haven't won the popular vote.
No, I haven't won the popular vote, and a lot of the votes that they have won is through massive amounts of gerrymandering that selectively essentially screws over black and brown voters, because it cuts the voting block in such a way where huge swaths of brown and black people get shrunk into smaller voting blocks than they would otherwise have in their neighborhoods. Yeah.
So when you really...
I'm not making this up, people. I mean, it's very easy to find this information.
Do your research, yes. Please do your research. But I'm saying, for people out there that think that their voice doesn't matter, or are maybe in doom and gloom about everything, again, the Republicans have not won the popular vote in 20 years. So that's got to tell you something about the atmosphere of this country and the mood of this country in the last 20 years when it comes to moving forward, when it comes to being liberal, when it comes to being progressive. They don't have the numbers, and they know that. And that's what's driven them to someone like Donald Trump, who's the worst Republican candidate in the history of Republican presidential candidates. But the desperation has driven them so far that this is all they have. They wouldn't be trying to take your vote. Voter suppression has been consistent. It remains consistent. They wouldn't be trying to take your vote if it didn't matter. So I encourage you, take advantage of your vote. Use your voice.
That's the drinking game for this episode. Every time we ask you to vote, you take a shot with us, okay?
All right, so a little bit of fun. Time for Director's Cut.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
This is the moment in our podcast where we talk about and we replay some of our favorite scenes and we act them out. So for scene 1, I chose a great opening monologue that introduces V, just because I think this would be a great actor's vocal warm-up before they go on stage. I bet you somewhere out there someone's got it memorized too.
I guess I'm V right now, so...
You want to do it?
No, obviously I don't.
Oh, I thought you were serious. I was like, let's go.
I was complaining before the episode started, listeners. This particular warm-up that he's excited about... there's no way I could possibly get through it, especially not after this tequila. So it's all you, baby. I will be easy.
Even though it'd be very interesting to listen to Mark try and get through this monologue after tequila. But I remember this monologue when I was a teenager and I saw the movie for the first time. I was sold. I was sold then. Here we go.
Action.
I can assure you, I mean you no harm.
Who are you?
Who is but the form following the function of what? And what I am is a man in a mask.
Oh, I can see that.
Of course you can. I'm not questioning your powers of observation. I'm merely remarking upon the paradox of asking a masked man who he is.
Right.
But this most auspicious of nights, permit me then, in lieu of the more commonplace sobriquet, to suggest the character of this dramatis persona, Foil. In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer of vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi. Now vacant, vanished, however, this valorous visitation of bygone vexation stands vivified and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin vanguarding vice and Wachowskis, the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance and vendetta, held as votive not in vain, for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and virtuous. Verily, this visage of verbiage veers most verbose, so let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V.
Cut.
Listeners, Mark is smoking an imaginary cigarette.
Sorry, I thought I'd take a smoke break while you got through that. Sorry, are you finished?
Some of those words I'm sure are pronounced wrong. Some of those words I have never seen spelled out before, but that was fun. I share this scene not for the sake of the message of the film, but just for the sake of it just being a great introduction and a great opening monologue for a character. So I love that one.
Well, as you can see, I added the scene.
Ooh.
And I really wanted to play this scene. I wanted to do my take on Stephen Fry, who is Gordon Dietrich. Again, a small part in this film, but I've loved Stephen Fry for literally years. And it's just one of the joys of this film that he's in it and he participates. And he's so much like himself in this movie. Anyway. So this is an amusing scene where Evey she ends up crashing with Gordon, and this is that next morning. And I would like to be Gordon, please, thank you.
And I am going to be Evey.
Action.
What's that you're making?
We call it Iggy in the Basket. My mom used to make them.
This is weird.
What?
The first morning I was with him, he made me eggs just like this.
Really?
I swear.
That is a strange coincidence. Although, there is an obvious explanation.
There is.
Yes, Evey. I am V. At least now you know the truth. You're stunned, I know. It's hard to believe, isn't it? That beneath this wrinkled, well-fed exterior, there lies a dangerous killing machine with a fetish for Foxian masks. Viva la revolution!
That is not funny, Gordon.
I know. I'm useless without a studio audience.
Cut.
But okay, so fast forward past this scene, and you have that really awesome final show. And
yes,
we had talked about Jimmy Kimmel earlier.
Yeah,
and it's like that's his character in this, right?
Yes.
Where it's this talk show host that everybody's been watching for years, and he does political commentary and satire, and it's funny, and we all have a laugh, or whatever. But with the wrong government in charge, you can't have shows like this.
Yeah.
You can't poke fun or take a piss out of the people in charge. It's just not possible, because they will come for you and they will put you like in a black bag and haul you off to Gitmo. And that was the result of, his sort of, his poking fun at the High Chancellor,
Yeah.
And I think Evey kind of gave him a little bit of the courage, through staying with him and then processing, and him just sort of thinking about the reasons for doing all of these things, like holding on to the Quran, right? Even though he's not Muslim.
Yeah.
And he was thinking about these things and processing into these things and stewing with them while Evey was staying with him. And he's like, you know what? I can be brave too. So I think Evey was the first. She lit the spark, and then it took off. She really was the next generation of V, and it started early on in the movie, a lot earlier than the end of the film.
I think so too.
Because you see here, she's influencing, her friend Gordon.
I absolutely think so too. I mean, when I look at the different characters that we follow in this movie, I think, again, going back to one of my earlier questions, were these, was Evey manipulated into becoming a fighter, or was it always in her? I think with the people that we follow in this movie, I think it was always in them to begin with. And I think that especially the speech that V gives to Britain when he takes over the network system, I think the speech that he gives is the spark. I really do. I think that the detective in this film, I think that it was always there with him. I think it's always there with Evey, with Gordon.
The little girl. She doesn't even have a name.
Yes.
But you see her throughout this whole film, you see that one little girl. She's watching TV with her parents.
Yeah.
She's roller skating. She's doing all of these things. They keep showing this little girl with the glasses. She's so cute. And then, he does the speech. She puts on the mask.
Yeah.
This little girl is probably 10, 12 years old. And she's like, you know what? I can fight for this country too.
Yeah.
Right? And she goes and she starts spray painting all of those fascist signs
Yeah.
with the V logo on them.
And this is something that I want to speak to the listeners about when it comes to making your voice heard, when it comes to protesting. Don't underestimate your power to protest, and don't underestimate the power of numbers. There's a line that the detective has in this movie where he says, all it takes is for someone to do something stupid. And then we see that girl get shot. And I immediately thought of George Floyd in 2020 when he was executed, when he was murdered by the police. There was a movement in this country. There was a revolt protest in this country that was not only countrywide, it was global. It was global. There were people in other countries that came out and protest as well. I've never seen anything like that, especially in regards to a black man being murdered by the police. And for a minute, we were in some kind of way unified as a country. At least most of us were unified as a country because we valued in that moment. We knew that this black man's life mattered just like everyone else's mattered. We valued.
He had a mother, he had a father, he had, siblings.
Yes.
He was a human being.
He
was
was
extinguished because of the police using excessive force. And so brazenly, they knew exactly what they were doing.
in a horrific way.
In public view.
Yes. And again, not to harp on it, but again, with Project 2025, expect more of that if Donald Trump gets in. But
yeah. And, it's like that, it's like that poem about, the Holocaust, first they came for...
Right.
Was the gypsies, and then I didn't worry because I wasn't a gypsy, and that type of thing. It's like, yes, it's happening to a black person now, right? But then tomorrow it's going to happen to a Mexican person,
Yeah,
and a Haitian person, and a gay person, and a trans person, and you name it. When does it stop, right? You think, it's happening to this other group, right? It couldn't happen to me.
yeah.
That's absolutely false.
Right.
It could definitely happen to you. That's why we always have to care when we see injustice.
Yes.
Because an injustice against any of us is an injustice against all of us.
And I think what was so special about that moment in time where everyone came out in revolt, during the pandemic, we didn't have the option to go to work. We didn't have the option to be outside. We were forced to sit there for, how long was it? 8 minutes? 8 minutes that murderer knelt on George Floyd's neck. We were forced to sit and watch it because we didn't have anywhere to go. We didn't have anything to distract us. We had to sit and watch, and we had to listen. So I say all this to say, if we do more of that, and if we're not afraid to get out there and vote and protest and do all those things, please vote. Take another shot, listeners. Please vote. Moving on to scene number 3. I put this one in there. This is the monologue where V addresses Britain.
Action.
I thought we could mark this November 5th, a day that is sadly no longer remembered, by taking some time out of our daily lives to sit down and have a little chat. There are, of course, those who do not want us to speak. Even now, orders are being shouted into telephones, and men with guns will soon be on their way. Why? Because while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning, and for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth. And the truth is, there's something very wrong with this country, isn't there? You designed it, wanted it foolproof. You said every television in London, cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression, and where once you had the freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and surveillance, coercing your conformity and soliciting submission. How did this happen? Who's to blame? Certainly there are those who are more responsible than others, and they will be held accountable. But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know why you're afraid. Who wouldn't be? War, terror, disease. There were a myriad of problems which conspired to corrupt your reason and rob you of your common sense. Fear got the best of you, and in your panic, you turned to the now High Chancellor, Adam Sutler. He promised you order. He promised you peace. And all he deemed in return was your silent, obedient consent. Last night, I sought to end that silence. Last night, I destroyed the Old Bailey to remind this country of what it has forgotten. More than 400 years ago, a great citizen wished to embed the 5th of November forever in our memory. His hope was to remind the world that fairness, justice, and freedom are more than words. They're perspectives. So if you've seen nothing, if the crimes of this government remain unknown to you, then I would suggest that you allow the 5th of November to pass unmarked. But if you see what I see, if you feel as I feel, and if you would seek as I seek, then I ask you to stand beside me 1 year from tonight, outside the gates of Parliament, and together we shall give them a 5th of November that shall never, ever be forgot.
Cut.
I really think that that moment, again, power in numbers, and encouraging people to use their voice and not underestimate the power of their voice. I love that scene. All right, so rewrites. If there's anything that you could change, what would it be?
Oh, I don't think I would change a damn thing about this movie. Except for maybe to have some more moments with Stephen Fry's character, but
Yeah.
aside from that, this is one of those movies that the pacing is so good and it sort of speeds along. I mean, it's a couple hours, right? It's a couple-hour movie.
It's like it's just over 2 hours, I think. Just over 2 hours.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like I almost never say this, but it could have actually been longer because it's
Yeah.
it has such a strong message and it's so important. And the pacing is so good. I feel like they could have stuck in another 15 20 minutes of movie in here, and it wouldn't have felt long. It's a great film. Very rarely do I say, hey, like, it should have been longer, but it totally could have been because it's that good. Yeah.
I think the one thing I don't know about the romance element in it with Evey and V. There's like a little bit of the romance, and I just wasn't sure about it. I think that in some ways it plays into the rest of the story, but I think he already gave her what she needed, and I think he already got what he needed from her without there being a certain romance. I think that this could have easily just been. I mean, obviously he's lonely. And he brings her in at the beginning of the movie. He spends time with her, and then she leaves, and he has that moment where he smashes the mirror with his mask. Is that right? I think that's what happens after Evey leaves. So I understand that he's lonely, but that could have easily, especially throughout the movie, there's a companionship there that has been created. I don't know if we needed the romance at the end. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what like the age difference is between the characters. It's never really explicitly said, but I get the impression that he's a bit older than her. I don't know. He could have even been like a queer character or something, but there didn't have to necessarily be a romance, right?
Yeah.
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 I agree with you, but I liked the tender moments between them, and I feel like if you didn't have that romance, then you wouldn't have got like the dancing and whatnot.
Hmm.
I don't know, that I thought was really special and sort of, I don't know,
No, I agree.
it was beautiful about the film.
All right. So standouts, anything standouts?
Well, the Wachowskis' script writing in here uh, was just so well layered. This goes back to what I had just said about, oh, this movie could have been longer. It's because there's so much to the onion of this film. And again, I go back to what I said at the very beginning when we started talking. It's like every time I see this film, I see it on different levels, I see it in different ways because there's so much packed into it. And it is almost like a mirror to what's going on now, but this was made in, '06, right? So we've been having these conversations for a long time
Mhm.
now. So that's a testament to good writing. There's a reason we're still, playing with Shakespeare, for example,
Right.
why he hasn't disappeared into the dustbin of history. It's because what he wrote was really powerful. And I think we have another piece here that is a powerful piece that will stand the test of time. And I don't know about the film, whether the film itself will last as long as something like that, but I think that maybe the graphic novel or the story or what have you, I think will transcend. I think this is something that people it will be in the zeitgeist of popular culture for quite some time. And it is testament to their writing and the idea behind it, right? Because ideas are bulletproof.
I think for me, the cast was so well assembled. It was so well assembled. I love the journey that Natalie Portman
Oh, my girl Natalie.
takes.
Shit, man. I love
she
her.
she just annihilated this part, and she had to still be in her 20s at that point.
Mhm.
To be so young and to be so talented and to understand clearly, to understand the journey that this character is taking. Just it was beautiful to watch. I also have to give it up to oh my gosh, the actor that did the voice of V, um
Hugo?
Hugo Weaving. The voice work, that well done, well done. Also, I do believe, not to spoil this one, but I think in the trivia section there's one other actor that contributed to the voice as well. But shout out to Hugo Weaving as well for a great vocal performance, movement as well. I believe if he was in that costume, the movement was great as well.
I want to say, I think around this time. Yeah, so she had done like um, Garden State,
Oh
right? She had
God, I
done
love that
that.
movie. Love that movie.
Um, the movie Closer.
Yes, I haven't
Um,
seen that one. I got to check that one out.
So I think with Closer, I think she filmed that movie around the same time she did V,
Mm,
because in that film, she's wearing wigs throughout the film, and there is like, I think a part of the film where she just has really like short cropped hair.
yeah.
Might be at the beginning. So I think that I think that's why her hair is so short in that film. But if you haven't seen her in Closer, please do. There's a lot of great performances that I think we should, honestly, Matt, I was going to preemptively say we need to do that one maybe
Let's
when it
do
comes
it.
to Valentine's Day. That was actually
Yeah,
something I was thinking.
let's do it.
The dialogue is incredible. I love the script. But, if BQN is still a podcast network
Right.
in February
In
of
February, if
2025,
Donald Trump has not taken over the country,
then we'll be back.
then we will.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
we will replay it in Gitmo.
Yes.
For real, though.
Yeah.
Vote. Please vote.
Please vote. Please vote so you can continue to be entertained by us, and you continue to listen to us and enjoy all the other programming that you enjoy that might be considered too woke and too progressive.
And I don't look good in orange.
Neither do I. Orange is not my color. I'm just, no, I don't. And also, like, jumpsuits are baggy. I'm gonna like try to tailor
You would
mine.
sag that shit. You've already told us you're a sagger.
I used to be. I used to be back in the day, but I
I bet you go
stopped.
back in prison. You're in prison for 24 hours, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey,
No, I'd get a
I'm
needle
the
and
new
thread.
trade.
I'd
I'm the
get a
new
needle and
Gitmo
thread.
trade.
No, I would try to sew it to make it a little more form fitting, to make it more couture, prison couture. So moving on to trivia. The domino scene, where V tips over black and red dominoes to form a giant letter V, involved 22,000 dominoes. It took 4 professional domino assemblers 200 hours to set it up.
I totally thought it was CGI this entire time. I'm not gonna lie.
That's what I
I've
thought
seen
too.
this movie so many times.
I thought it was CGI. I thought it was CGI.
Wow.
I hope that this is true. I hope that this is true. But yeah, I thought it was CGI.
For the scene where V emerges from Larkhill, stunt double Chad Stileski, there we go, literally walked through fire wearing just a special fire retardant gel and a G-string.
Oh my. Now I gotta look him up.
Yeah. Stileski's body temperature had to be lowered before the scene was shot, and luckily it was 3 degrees below zero on the night of the shoot. Oh my goodness. 15 minutes before the take, he would put on ice cold flame retardant clothing, and once he took them off, he would be covered with fire resistant gel, which had been icing all day long.
Oh my god.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Is all I gotta say.
That's
Again, not CGI. Practical effect. The guy walked through flames wearing nothing but a G-string.
some people
Man,
are into that. Some people are into it.
girl.
Not gonna yuck anybody's yum.
If you like flamers and G-strings, man.
This is the movie for you. The cast and crew were only allowed to shoot near the British Parliament and Big Ben, the Big Clock Tower, from midnight to 4:30 a.m., and they could only stop traffic for 4 minutes at a time. Oh my god.
Whoa.
For as someone who makes their own stuff and has no budget, and they have a budget and they can only do something for 4 minutes, that's oh my god.
Thank God for miniatures. One of the major challenges in this movie was how to bring V to life under an expressionless mask. Thus, considerable effort was made to bring tougher lighting, acting, and Hugo Weaving's voice to create the proper mood for the situation. Since the mask muffled Weaving's voice, his entire dialogue was re-recorded in post-production. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was gonna be a thing. Like, yeah. The secret police are called Fingermen. Tee hee. Because the new order was arranged on the model of the human body. The chancellor and the head, the television station BTN, was the mouth. The chancellor was the head. The television station BTN was the mouth. Visual and audio surveillance were the eyes and ears. Inspector Finch was part of the nose. The police force and Creedy's secret police were the head. The hand.
Wow.
That is... wow.
Again, layers of the onion.
I love it. Just the world building, commitment to it. I love it.
Certain scenes within this movie feature James Purfoy as V, who was originally cast in the role but replaced by Hugo Weaving 4 weeks into filming. Weaving's voice was simply dubbed over Purfoy's performance in post-production. The director of this film, said in an interview, "Can I tell the difference? Yeah. Can the audience tell? I doubt it. True. We can't. I didn't."
I didn't. I had no idea. In the comic, illustrator David Lloyd often subtly changed V's Guy Fawkes mask to suit the mood or tone of a particular scene. The filmmakers considered designing several subtly different masks, but they ultimately decided to alter the shadows and lighting in post-production. I knew that there was always something slightly off about the mask in each in significant scenes, and it was well done.
All of these dialogue was dubbed. Initially, a mask was designed with a small microphone inside, and another mic was designed to sit along Hugo Weaving's hairline, but neither worked very well.
Natalie Portman looked forward to buzzing her hair, saying she'd wanted to do that for a long time. Final thoughts. How many masks are we giving this movie?
Yeah, I think masks is good because they send the boxes out to everybody's houses, you know.
I agree.
I'd like to give out 5 Foxian masks. And 5, what, the Roman numeral is V, right?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. There we go, people. Fucking Roman numerals. So final thoughts on this film. If you see the poster for this film and you're like, oh, it's a superhero thing, graphic novel. I'm not into comic books. I'm not into superhero films, whatever. Throw that out the window, people. I mean, it's so much more than that. This is a political film. It's timely. The acting is incredible. The message is incredible. It's inspiring. The performances, everything about this film is they just knocked it out of the park. This is something that if I had children, I would make them watch year after year for November 5th. And, right before they start watching Halloween stuff, I'd show them this, or right after, and then we go into the Christmas films. But this would be something that I think that would help educate people about the power of their vote, of their voice, of why is it important to stay clued in to what politics are, why it is important to question authority, right? All of these conversations come up in this. And so not only am I giving it 5 masks, but I definitely, I want to just encourage people, even if the genre doesn't necessarily appeal to you, give this one a shot, okay? And then let us know what you think about it, right? You can check it out now, but I think, seeing as this is coming out the voting week, I would rather you guys spend the week watching the news, listen to this pod, of course, then watch the news, go on election day, go out and vote. And yeah, that's my final thought. Please vote.
I give this movie 5 masks for sure. I think it is so timely. I think it'll continue to be timely. As for final thoughts, besides masks, again, everybody just get out there and vote. Make your voice heard. Get out there and protest. Make your voice heard. Do all of it. You can do all of it. You don't just have to do one. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be one or neither. Vote, protest, donate. Do it all. You can do it all. The only reason why you think that it has to be one or the other, or that you can't do one or the other, or that one discredits the other, is because you've been conditioned to think that way. You can do it all. So do it all. Make your voice heard in every way. Get out there.
Please vote.
Please vote. Take another shot.
What else can you listen to on the BQN? Replicate yourself a mug of hot chocolate and join Amy, Mark, Christos, and Kelvin as they discuss everything and anything in the Star Trek universe on All Good Things. Boost yourself with an energy drink and join Davey on YouTube and Twitch for reviews and live streams of classic, cheap, and sometimes more recent video games on Bargain Bin Gamer. Brew yourself a pot of coffee and join Jeremiah to discuss Star Trek Voyager on The Captain's Couch. Mix your favorite cocktail and join Mark and Matt at Cinema Z to discuss the films you probably missed but should definitely check out. Pour a cup of tea, Earl Grey, hot, and listen to Stephen and Keith as they discuss the next generation of Trek on Galaxy Class. Get yourself something caffeinated and learn an interesting bit of history with Chrissy and Jason on History with the Szilagys. Have a bowl of Flomeek soup and join Thad and Chrissy and a guest to discuss new episodes of Star Trek as they are released on Infinite Diversity. Have something to sharpen your mind and put your Trek knowledge to the test with the Treksperts quiz. Take a bite out of something that didn't seem edible and join Kyle, Kevin, Amy, and Haley covering all things in New Trek, including that show that is Trek in all but name, The Orville, on Union Federation. Get your Sunday brunch ready for The View Screen, a live weekly talk show hosted by Kelvin and Amy with featured guests talking about all things Trek. Pour a glass of wine and spill some tea with Christos, where he discusses current Trek news and events and explores the world of fandom via guest interviews, all with an LGBTQIA+ perspective on What's the Tea, Bev? And Patreon members get to pass around that green bottle of Aldebaran whiskey once a month on the round table, and they can listen to It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moments.
So, what are we going to be talking about next time?
So if there is a next time, if we get to come back,
Not to be morbid, but also, yeah, if there's a next time.
So this one's for me. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I couldn't figure out where to pigeonhole this film, but I'm gonna plop it in here. The film is called I'm Not There, and I think that it's really good timing to show this movie now for a couple of reasons, right? So I'm Not There is a 2007 musical drama directed by Todd Haynes, who we've discussed on this pod before, and co-written by Haynes and Oren Movement. It's an experimental biographical film. It is inspired by the life and music of American singer-songwriter Bob Dylan. Okay, with 6 actors depicting different facets of Dylan's public personas. You have Christian Bale, Bob Dylan; Kate Blanchett, Bob Dylan; Marcus Carl Franken, who's black, as Bob Dylan; Richard Gere, Bob Dylan; Heath Ledger in one of his final performances before he died, as Bob Dylan; and Ben Whishaw, who you might know as Q in the new Bond films, who's gay, also as Bob Dylan. They're all Bob Dylan. It's a lot of Bob Dylans. But anyway, I have never quite seen a biopic like this. Matt was talking at the beginning about an interesting biopic that he's recently seen that was done with Legos. Here's another really interesting take on the biopic formula, right? Where you have all these different actors playing different parts of the man that's Bob Dylan and telling the story. And so I love this film for a lot of reasons. Obviously, I grew up with Dylan. I love Dylan's music. It's a really cool story about just like what fame can do to somebody, right? To artists, what the paparazzi can do and almost destroy lives sometimes. What you do in those situations, like how you bring yourself up from being like hitting rock bottom and digging yourself up. There's so many different like plots. Well, so yes, I'm very excited to talk about this film with you, to share it with you, Matt. It's a personal fave of mine. But yeah, you like seeing an acting tour de force? Here you go. I mean, the amount of people in here that are award winners. I mean, how many Oscars do we have in that cast right there? There's quite a few.
There's quite a few.
So, yeah. I think our listeners, they're gonna be in for a treat with this one.
Oh man, I'm so excited to watch Kate. I love Kate. Well, listeners, we would love to hear what you thought of today's episode, and we hope you'll join us on our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also send your thoughts to @CinemaZPod on BlueSky and let us know if you'd like to recommend a film. Please follow the network on BlueSky and Instagram @BQN Podcasts. Don't forget, you can join the conversation with BQN hosts and fellow fans on our Discord server.
Yeah, we don't drop the thing in the link of it. We've never done that. So not going to happen. But, listeners, hit us up if you want to join the Discord server, because I promise you, we will find somebody to get you the code.
So, Mark, where can people find you when you are not spraying red V's onto government buildings?
Oh, my Lord. Happened one time, and come to find out it was just a UTI. Anyway.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Oh.
Listen, guys, if it feels funny, get it checked out, quick. That's all I'm saying. Anyway.
Everyone, get on prep and get on pep.
This episode has been sponsored by Prep.
That's a running bit. I'm never letting it go. Never letting it go.
Hey, but it's important.
It is. It is important.
Get tested regularly.
And also vote so you can have access to it, because they're coming after Planned Parenthood and they're coming after free health care.
Well, when I am not doing that and I'm not voting, as if democracy depends on it, which it does, you can find me probably in my backyard, getting my hands dirty, working on some landscaping. Merca. Yeah, occasionally I talk Star Trek on All Good Things on this network. So, you can listen to the backlog episodes. There's no new ones at the moment, but you can check those out. Where can people find you when you are not dressing in sexy, form-fitting cosplay?
I mean, I'm always doing that, and I enjoy watching videos about that. I think I've said too much. Anyway, when I'm not doing that, you can find me on Instagram, on Threads, and on YouTube at 1701BLERD, meta-web series about a gay black nerd that uses Star Trek to cope with life. Hopefully that show will not be under the eyes of Donald Trump's posse if he gets reelected. That's why I say again, vote, so people can continue to tell their stories, no matter how different, no matter how queer.
Please vote.
Please vote. Also, please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcasts with our master feed by searching BQN.
At this time, we'd like to thank our associate producer, Amy Nelson. A special thanks to Laz Marquez for our original show art. The opening and closing music for this podcast is titled Dancing Dead and was provided by Ketsa from the Free Music Archive, providing royalty-free music for content creators.
If you'd like to keep all our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We will add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on Hive Mind Roundtable discussion on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages. So listeners, thank you for listening. And remember, a revolution without dancing is a revolution not worth having. I say that to say there can be joy in the revolution. Find joy in your vote. Find joy in your voice. Find joy in your donation. Find joy in your protest.
Find joy in your vote.
But find joy first in your vote.
Viva la revolution!